today we're going to be doing a tier list of the best players in MLB The Show. As you can see, there is a list here of the top 103 cards in MLB The Show. We're going to kind of scroll through them here, just to give you guys a brief little overview of what we have there. If you guys are new to the channel, please make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'm not going to waste much time. Let's get into this. Aaron Judge. So Aaron Judge, I'm going to put in B tier. He is a mid-decent card. He has good hitting stats right now because he's supercharged. Obviously, with the screenshot, you can see he's supercharged. The regular Aaron Judge, he's okay. Big swing, big guy. Obviously, personally, I'm not a huge fan of Aaron Judge because I'm not a huge fan of him being a tall player, a big guy.
What do you mean by that?
So to say, so Aaron Judge, I'm going to put in B tier. That's where he is going to go. Adolis Garcia. I'm going to put him in B tier as well, just because of his defense. I haven't gotten to use this card a whole lot, but statistically speaking, Adolis Garcia is a card that is solid enough to play in your Diamond Dynasty teams. Good enough defense, obviously Diamond fielder. I want to say it's max fielding, honestly, but it's pretty close to max if it's not max. So Adolis Garcia, solid defender out in the outfield. Anthony Santander, I'm putting this card in A tier. I don't care what his stats say. He plays way above his stats. Switch hitter, amazing DH, amazing swing. Probably my favorite swing in the game. That will be the swing I use on my cap. So Anthony Santander, I cannot speak high enough on this card. So moving on to Anthony Volpe. I'm going to put Volpe in A tier for the time being. I think Volpe is a solid shortstop. Obviously, these guys aren't in any order. Volpe is one of those guys who could do 5-tool player, can play second and third, I want to say, also. So if you want to put him into secondary positions, you can do that as well. I personally would put him at shortstop if you don't have Derek Jeter. If you do have Derek Jeter, I don't know that Volpe plays. So moving on to the next guy, Babe Ruth. This will be our first S-tier player. Babe Ruth, 125 everything across the board. Unbelievable hitter, unbelievable swing. Not much else to say about Babe Ruth. If you got him, get him. He's the best. He's the best first baseman in the game easily. So you got him, play him. There's no debate there. Billy Wagner. I'm going to put him in B tier. That might be contradictory. On the highest level, I'm going to put him at A. We'll go based off of Legend. Off of Legend, I'll put him in A. Billy Wagner is one of those guys that I feel like is solid, but can get teed off on if you're playing a good player on Legend. Or Hoff, as far as that goes. But Billy is one of those guys that is either really good or really bad. So far for me, he's been really bad. And I don't think he's that great. But at the end of the day, his stats are good. He's got an outlier fastball. I like Billy Wagner a lot. So we're going to keep things moving here. Bo Bichette. I'm going to put him top of B for the time being. Because I don't think he's as good as Volpe. But he does have the good hitting stats. He is a better hitter than Volpe. He doesn't have the defense that Volpe does, which I value much higher than hitting at shortstop anyways. So Bo Bichette's going to go in B tier. Bob Feller, I'm going to put him in C tier just because he's really only good on Legend. Even then, it's kind of iffy. I don't think Bob Feller's pitch mix is that great. Obviously, he has outlier on his fastball, which makes it usable, but I'm not a huge fan of Bob Feller as a whole. So Bob Gibson is an A tier for me. He can be nasty at times. I think he's easy to hit personally, but I know a lot of people that struggle against Bob Gibson. So I'm putting Bob Gibson in A tier. Pitch mix is good. He's got the sinker, he's got the slurve, he's got the cutter, I want to say. So good pitch mix for Bob Gibson overall. I just think he's kind of easy to hit. Some people think he's not. I think he's personally not that bad to hit. So Bob Feller. I don't know who this is, so I'm putting him in D tier. I'm just going to pass him up. Nothing really too special about him. Let's see. Brandon Layton? Layton, maybe? I think that's his name. I don't really know who that is, so I'm just going to pass him up. We got the Negro League. I forget his name, too. He is going to go in B tier. I'm just going to assume you have all the Negro League done if you have this guy. So if you're playing this guy, you get the plus 25 boosts. So that is why I'm putting him in B tier, is assuming you have the plus 25 boosts onto him. So that is the reason why he is there. Camilo Duvall, he's going in A tier. Here's why. He doesn't have the glitchy sidearm release that he used to have. His outlier sinker is disgusting. His cutter is disgusting. His slider is disgusting. I love Camilo Duvall. He's a nasty card to hit on Legend. He's tough to hit righty-righty on Legend, which right now you got to do a lot of. So Camilo Duvall is one of those guys that I really think belongs in A tier. Seti, I'm going to put him in B tier as well, and the only reason he makes B tier for me is his swing. His swing is unbelievable, and I don't think there's anybody really you can't put in B tier that doesn't have the stats but has a good swing. A lot of those guys are going to go in B tier because their swings are obviously putting them above their stats. That's Cedric Mullins in a nutshell. Charlie Blackmon, I'm going to put him in B tier. That might be a little bit surprising to some people. Charlie Blackmon this year has a really good arm, really good swing. He belongs in B tier. He's a good DH. He can play the field if you absolutely have to put him in right field. He can make a throw to home. He can gun somebody. He can do things like that. Charlie Blackmon is a solid option as an outfielder and a DH in my opinion. Moving on to the next person, Chipper Jones. Best card in the game. Switch hitter. Basically 125 from both sides. I mean, what more could you ask for from a third baseman other than what Chipper Jones gives you? So, Chipper Jones, best card in the game in my opinion. S tier, no doubt in my mind. Christian Walker, I'm going to put him at C tier. Swing's okay. I've swung with him in BR. That's about it. I haven't swung with the 97 overall team captain. Or not team captain. Charisma card. I haven't done that yet. So, I don't think he's anything higher than C tier. He's okay. He's okay at best. So, we're going to go with C tier. Christian Yelich, I'm putting him above Cedric, putting him above Charlie at B tier. I like Christian Yelich a lot. His swing's always good every year. He hits righties real well. His clutch is fine. Everything about Christian Yelich is fine as a DH. He's got a good swing, as I said before. So he belongs in that B tier range, I think, just because of his swing alone. You might be able to argue him to A tier. Personally, I'm going to leave him at B tier, though, for guys a little bit ahead of him that I have personally. So we're going to kind of keep things moving here. Corbin Burns, I'm going to put him in C or B, I mean, my mistake. It's either one of these two. I'm going to put him in C because I just don't think his stats live up to what he is. He is one of those guys that has the pitch mix for the competitive player, but honestly, his pitches are so easy to read. I do not like him really much at all. I've tried him a couple times, and every time I try him, he gets teed off on. So Corbin Burns is one of those guys I'm avoiding. I'm taking him out of my rotation now as we speak. So Corbin Burns, there's better options out there than Corbin Burns. If you can't afford the better options, obviously Corbin Burns might be your best option, but I just don't personally really like Corbin Burns much. Corbin Carroll, he belongs in A tier. Great swing. I actually got to use this card in ranked seasons a couple days ago. He has a great swing. The only problem with Corbin Carroll is he has no quirks. That's the same with Gunnar Henderson, which I'm going to skip to Gunnar Henderson and put him in A as well. Both those guys do not have quirks, so it's really tough for me to, like, put them different because they almost are the exact same player at different positions. Gunnar does not obviously have the speed that Carroll has, but Gunnar also has more pop than Carroll has, so they kind of balance each other out. So those two kind of go hand in hand for me. They both have really good swings, though. When they get cards that have quirks, they're going to be unbelievably good. Derek Jeter, S tier. And I don't know that he's ahead of Babe Ruth, but I think he is a very solid card. Overall, 5-tool player, perfect leadoff batter. That's where I bat him now as leadoff. So if you have him any other place, I don't really know why you would have him any other place other than leadoff. If you do have Derek Jeter, he's amazing. And I love the card. The card swings really good. I'm hitting like 450 with him right now. He's super good. I really thoroughly enjoy using him. Devin Williams, I'm going to put him at B tier. This one might come as a little bit of a surprise. I think he's nasty, but I just don't think he has enough pitches to really mix it up much. So Devin Williams is going in B tier for me. Diego Castillo, same thing. I just think they don't have enough pitches to really make anything work. And on top of that, Diego Castillo is a little bit wild, so it's kind of tough to control Diego Castillo at times with the already broken pinpoint as it is. So Diego Castillo for me goes in B tier. Dustin May, I think he's the second best pitcher in the game right now, starting wise. He goes in A tier for me. I think he has the perfect pitch mix. He gets wild at times, which, you know, with pinpoint right now the way it is a little bit tough. But I think he does make things work. He has a really good pitch repertoire. He has a good windup. He has a deceiving release somewhat. And I just think he's the best pitcher in the game right now besides one other guy, which we're going to get to here in a second. let's go ahead and actually get to him. Roki Sasaki. Roki is unbelievable if I can find him on this list. There he is. Roki Sasaki goes in S tier. If you don't have Roki, you need to get him. His sinker is unbelievable. His pitch mix is unbelievable. He's got a 95. I've seen this forkball touch 95. Like, it's disgusting. It's a 90-mile-an-hour slider, a 103 fastball. He's disgusting. He's absolutely disgusting. Best pitcher in the game, hands down. It's not even close to me who the best starter is. So, get yourself a Roki if you can. If you can't, well, these guys are good options as well, and they're way cheaper. So, you can take that for what it is, but Roki is well worth the stubs. Eddie Matthews, we're going to put him in A tier. We're going to put him ahead of those guys just because of quirks. He has a good swing as well. Great third baseman. If Mark McGwire didn't exist, then Eddie Matthews would be the best third baseman in the game. It's not even remotely close in my opinion. Edwin Diaz, we're going to put him at the bottom of B. I don't like Edwin Diaz at all. He has fastball and a slider. That's all he's got for pitches. Not good pitch mix. He does have a good hits per nine, and he does throw hard. He does have outlier. He does have a lot of things going there. But if you have an opponent that can hit outlier, then, well, you're out of luck with Edwin Diaz. So, Edwin Diaz is going to go at the bottom of B tier for me. Eloy is going to go in the category with all these DHs. He's going to go in B tier as well. Doesn't play defense. Good swing. Solid swing. I also really like the fact that Eloy has good power, and it's from the right side. I do like that. He is a DH, as I said, so DH him if that's what you want to do. If you're a big Eloy fan, be my guest. Go ahead and DH him. Enrique Hernandez, I'm going to put him in C tier. Basically, he just has a pretty good swing. His stats are okay. In a righty-heavy meta, I'm not playing this card over a lot of the cards in D tier. So, I'm keeping him in C. I just don't see him being better than any of those cards in D tier. And on top of that, the only reason he is in C tier is because of his position flexibility. He can play a lot of different places. So Enrique is going to go in C tier. Eric Davis, I have him in A tier. I use this card for quite a bit on Hoff. I like his card. His swing's actually not as bad as people give it crap for. I think it's better than what people give it credit for. It's a little weird. You got to get used to his hands because they're like right here at his face. Or at his belly, I guess I should say. But it's not that bad, honestly. And his defense, his speed more than makes up for his reaction in the outfield. I played him in left field. I didn't play him in center. I played Trout in center. So, I don't think he's that bad. I think he's an A-tier outfielder. Gagne, I think he's an A-tier reliever. He's the only one with a 5-pitch mix outlier who I can actually vary speeds with and do a lot of different things with. Gagne is pretty solid for what he is so far. I like Gagne. If you can get him, go ahead and get him. I think he's probably a top 2 or 3 bullpen arm in the game right now, if not number 1. He's close to number 1 if he's not. So we're going to go ahead and keep things moving here. Eugenio Suarez, he's going to go in B tier as well. I think that Eugenio is one of those guys who has a glitchy swing. His stats may not be the best, but he's got a really good swing. And honestly, his stats aren't as bad as I'm making them out to be. He's got good enough stats to hit the ball. Definitely has enough power to get the ball out of the park. Eugenio Suarez, I just don't think he belongs in A tier with the tier of Eddie Matthews and what Mark McGwire will be here soon and all those guys. I just don't think he belongs there. Fergie Jenkins, put this card in D tier. He's terrible. He stinks. Do not use Fergie Jenkins. Terrible. Not worth your stubs. Don't do it. Lindor, I'm putting Lindor in S tier. I think I'm going to put him in S tier. We're going to make this S tier like a top 12 cards in the game. I think Lindor is a top 12 card in the game. He might not be. We'll put him here for now. We'll see what happens. Lindor's swing is unbelievable. He plays way above his stats. He's phenomenal. Switch hitting. Plays shortstop really well. Plays third really well. Plays second really well. I would put him at second base if I were you, or third. Either or. I think they both work. Shortstop, obviously I have Derek Jeter, so it doesn't work. Lindor is just unreal. If you can get him, get him. Freddie Freeman. He's going to go in C tier. He's average at best. He's just kind of a lefty bat that plays first, who has good contact, who has enough power to hit it in a gap. That's about all he is. Gary Sanchez, we're going to put him in B tier for the same reason Eugenio Suarez is in B tier. I don't know that there's really much you can say about Gary that helps him on Hoff and Legend. I think Gary's swing is good. I just don't know that he can move any higher than B tier. I just don't see that being a realistic thing at all. So I'm keeping him at B tier. Giancarlo Stanton. Same as Eugenio Suarez, same as Eloy Jimenez, same as Bo Bichette. They're DHs. They have decent swings. I like Giancarlo. His swing's okay. He's a little taller. I don't really like the taller players much on the higher difficulties. But on the lower difficulties, this card rates. If you are on All-Star or even Hall of Fame and you're fighting Hall of Fame, you need Giancarlo rates. So I would definitely recommend Giancarlo Stanton. Greg Vaughn, where you're going to find myself talking and saying the same things over and over and over again about some of these guys. Decent enough swing, good stats, DH at best, that's what he is. Hank Aaron, lefty killer. I'm putting him in B tier as well. He's a lefty killer, but right now there's not a lot of lefties in the game. There's Bumgarner and Billy Wagner, and that's about it. Like, there's Taylor Rogers. There's just not very many lefties in the game right now that are dominant, so Hank Aaron really doesn't get to play much, so Hank Aaron goes there for me. Hunter Brown, we're going to put him in C tier. I think he's with those guys. He has an outlier fastball, has a little bit funky delivery. Nothing super crazy, though, as far as his mix. If you have an opponent that can't hit outlier, then Hunter Brown obviously is a good bet. If you have an opponent that can hit outlier, well, you know the rest. Jacob deGrom, same thing. I don't think Jacob deGrom's that good this year. I see him, I've seen him so much now, it's just like he's not that great anymore. We'll get a card of Jacob deGrom, I know, that's going to be just nasty and shoves. But his live series card right now, I probably would not have him in your rotation unless you're absolutely desperate or you just finished live series collections and you don't have any stubs and this is the best you can do. That is the only way I would have Jacob deGrom in your rotation. Javi Baez, I'm going to put him in C tier. I just think he's a good defender. His swing's not the greatest. I'm not a huge fan of Javi. He's just kind of there. He exists for me. Javi, not necessarily somebody I'd want to play. Jazz, I'm going to put him in A tier. I think Jazz is one of those guys. Lefty bat, which is really good to the meta right now. Has good pop. Plays good center field defense. I think he's one of the better defenders in center field. I just think Jazz is one of those guys you have to put in A tier just for his stats alone. If you're not a biggest fan of his swing, that's fine. But in the meta we're in right now, I think he's an A tier player. Gene Segura, I'm going to put him in C tier. I use this card quite a bit. I thought I did a lot better with him than what I did. Evidently, I didn't. His swing gets jammed quite a bit. It's a little bit of a slower swing. It's an awkward swing, I think, in my opinion. He is just kind of there as well. He's kind of like Javi. He's just kind of there. He exists in the game. I'm not a huge fan. Jeff Bagwell, if you play this card, I don't know what to tell you. Jeff Bagwell, put him in D tier. His swing is not good again. Just don't try the card at all. Jeremy Pena, I'm going to put him in B tier. He's along with Bo Bichette. I think he plays better defense. Obviously, he's not as good of a hitter as Bo Bichette, but he plays better defense, which I said here time and time again. I will value defense over anything in this game at shortstop. So shortstop, I'm putting him at B tier just because I think his defense is better. He's got better speed. He doesn't have the hitting stats. I don't think he's on the level of Gunnar Henderson. I would rather play Gunnar Henderson, and that's that. Jim Edmonds, I'm putting him on A tier. Like I said, righty-heavy meta, great outfielder. The only flaw in Jim Edmonds is his speed. If you can get over his speed, I love Jim Edmonds. He's really good. His swing's pretty solid. I like Jim Edmonds quite a bit. Jock Peterson, he's going in A tier for me. Hate me if you want. I don't care. Best DH in the game outside of like 2 people. Jock Peterson, go get him. Go get him if you can. He's in Team Affinity. Takes about 3 hours to get, probably, give or take, if that. Go get Jock Peterson if you can. He's definitely worth your time. And he's one of my favorite swings in the game. And he's got 125 clutch. So when you have people on, you have the max contact, which is amazing, by the way. So, Jock Peterson, go get him. Joey Meneses, I'm going to put him in B tier. DH, as I've said with a lot of these guys. DH card that has a decent swing, decent enough swing. I don't know that I'd put him in the field. There's a lot better options in the field, so Joey Meneses, I'm putting him there. Axford, put him in C tier. Axford's okay. He's a reliever. He has a sinker. That's about all I can say about Axford. Johnny Cueto, I'm going to put him in... this is a tough one. I'm going to put him in B tier for now. I don't think he's on the level of Dustin May and Bob Gibson, but he is a really solid starter. He has a lack of control at times, so it's kind of tough in that regard, especially like I said with pinpoint being the way it is right now. I think Johnny Cueto is one of those guys you could argue to A tier because of his pitch repertoire and his windup's a little funky. So Johnny Cueto, I'm gonna put him at B tier. I don't think he's on the level of Dustin May, Bob Gibson, but he is a very solid option. Jonathan Loaisiga, man, A tier, aka the Lasagna Man is what I like to call him. He is probably my favorite reliever right now. He's been my most reliable so far. I like his windup, his pitch mix is good. He's a really solid overall card, and you get him really early on. So I'm putting him at A tier just because I think he's really good. He's got fast pitches. He has enough to change it up, so I like him a lot. Jordan Walker, I'm putting him at A tier as well. I did a gameplay on Jordan Walker. The only problem with Jordan Walker is him being tall and his clutch rating's a little low. I think that his swing more than makes up for it though, and his position eligibility makes up for it. Because he can play in so many different spots. He can play everywhere in the outfield. He can play third, and I believe he can play first. So I think Jordan Walker's position eligibility makes up for it. And on top of that, he has a good swing. I think in the higher difficulties, he's going to be struggle to use with runners in scoring position like Legend. But at the end of the day, a lot of you guys aren't even on Legend yet. Same with myself. So Jordan Walker is one of those guys I feel is a very fair card to rate at A tier at this point. So Jordan Walker, A tier. Jorge Soler, DH, good swing, good power, good hitting. I'm putting Jorge Soler at B tier. J-Ram, I'm going to put him at C tier. Switch hitter, third baseman, I think there's better options. But he is a live series card I know a lot of people like to use. So I figured I'd throw him on the list as well. Juan Soto. This card is right here with Jock to me. I think this is literally preference based. Juan has more quirks. Jock has the better clutch. So it kind of depends on what you want from your DH. I like Juan. I like Jock. Both their swings are amazing. They're the best two lefties in the game, in my opinion, swing-wise. Outside of Harper, Harper might be top 3 with them. I think those 3 guys have the best lefty swings in the game. It's not close. That is what I would do with Juan. Jung-Hoo Lee. I think Jung-Hoo Lee is a B tier center fielder. He's okay. He's good all around. Definitely a good all around guy. He doesn't have the pop you'd like to see, but I think you can say he is probably the best defensive center fielder in the game. That's not named Mike Trout, Byron Buxton. So, or Jazz Chisholm, really, as far as that goes. So that's the big thing with Jung-Ho. I think he's really solid, good overall. So yeah. Kento. Kento's A tier for me. And here's why. He can play catcher. He's short, which I really like the shorter players because you don't have as much room to cover. And on top of that, his swing is phenomenal. Oh, his swing is so good. I love this card, and he's going to be playing my catcher probably for a little bit. I really like this card. I think there's one other guy you could put in A tier with him, and I'm going to go ahead and find him now. That is Mike Napoli. Those two guys right there are just phenomenal catchers. The only problem with Mike Napoli is he doesn't have an arm. Kinseke Kondo, or however you say his name, does. He has everything you need. He has speed. He has everything. He's a great catcher. He plays a lot of different positions too. So Kinseke, I would put him in A tier. Ketel, this one might surprise some of you. I have Ketel in S tier. I have him over Lindor. Ketel is currently my second baseman in my God Squad. Swing is amazing. Switch hitter, has good clutch. I love Ketel Marte. There's not a whole lot I could say. I bat him second behind Jeter. He's probably my favorite swing in the game. One of them. That's from both sides. Other than Santander, I love Ketel Marte. There's nothing you can say about him that's bad. Honestly, his defense is good. Plays good second base. I love Ketel Marte. Kyle Schwarber, I'm going to put him at C tier. If you want a DH, go ahead. He has nothing else to offer to the table. He doesn't really hit lefties well either. I would put him at C tier just because that's really all he has to offer is a good swing. Kyle Tucker, I'm going to put this card in S tier for now. We'll see what happens. I love Kyle Tucker. You guys can kind of see where this meta is going. There is a lot of lefties at the top here, just because it is a righty meta heavily game. I I love Justin Tucker. Phenomenal fielder, phenomenal bat, has good quirks. The only problem you can really say is his speed is a little low in left field, which is fine. You can put him at DH if you want. I have him in left field right now. I do love his swing. Everything about him so far I've loved. So Kyle Tucker, unbelievable. Unbelievable card. Lee Smith, I'm putting him at the bottom of A. I don't think he's as good as Loizaga. I don't think he's as good as Gagne. I don't know if he... I think this could be a thing right here where you put those two next to each other. They do similar jobs, one from the right side, one from the left. Lee Smith doesn't have outlier though, which kind of stinks. That is kind of the big factor here in keeping him from A and B. I think B might be where he goes actually, just because of outlier. He's solid. I like him a lot. He's been really good for me, but I know people are going to tee off on him, and I know people, once they see him a little more, he's going to be a guy that gets hit around quite a bit. So Lee Smith, going to be in B tier for me. O'Hoppe, I'm going to put him in B tier as well. I don't know that there's that many catchers that you can really use. So O'Hoppe, for me, I think is going to go right there. Solid enough catcher, has good all-around hitting stats, decent enough defense, so that's where he's going to go. Lou Gehrig, I'm putting him in A. Yeah, we're going to put Lou Gehrig in A. I like his quirks. I personally, I know a lot of people love Lou Gehrig's swing. I'm not a huge fan. I play him at first. I do have him there. He's just one of those cards that I haven't really hit well with yet. And I don't know why. But he has a lot of the quirks. He has a lot of the hitting stats. And he hits gaps for me. So, you know, maybe we figure it out with him. Maybe we don't. I don't know. Luis Robert, he's going to be B tier for me. Good defender, decent enough hitter. Not really a whole lot to say about him. His swing's okay. He's kind of mid at best, but that's kind of where I have him. Madison Bumgarner, he's got to go in B tier as well, as bad as I hate to say this. He's the only viable lefty starter in the game. I do not care what anyone else tells you. Do not start Patrick Sandoval. Do not try to start Nestor Cortez. These guys are not good. Madison Bumgarner at least has hits per 9 and at least has a decent pitch mix. I'm still not a huge fan of Madison Bumgarner, but he gets the job done as a lefty, and he's in my rotation currently, so I like Madison Bumgarner enough to have him in my rotation, so I would go with Madison Bumgarner if you want a lefty. Manny Machado, he's going to go to the top of A tier. Is he better than Eddie? I don't know that he's better than Eddie because of the meta, but like, his defense is insanely good. His swing is insanely good. 125 clutch. Yeah, I think he's better than Eddie. I'm going to put him ahead of Eddie. I've used both these cards. I like Manny Machado a lot. And I put a gameplay up on my YouTube with him already. So if you guys want to go check that out, you can. Manny Machado is one of those guys that doesn't have the speed necessarily, but he has everything else. So Manny Machado, you're not going to have to worry about him at third. Great defender, great hitter. I like Manny Machado's swing quite a bit this year. So Manny Machado goes in A tier. Marcus Stroman, I'm putting him in C tier. I don't think he's that good. He's got a good pitch mix. He's short. He doesn't throw it very hard. Marcus Stroman, I'm putting him in C tier. Mo, I'm putting him in B tier. He's not nearly as good. He doesn't have a changeup this year. And he's very easy to read, in my opinion. I'm not a huge fan of Mo, but he is a bullpen arm that we have, and you kind of have to put him in here because he's Mariano Rivera. So B tier is where he's going to go. Mark McGwire, this might surprise a lot of you. I'm putting him in A tier. I just don't think Mark McGwire is going to be good on Legend. From what I've seen, his clutch is not high enough. He's tall. He's 6'5", like I said. And I just don't like these taller guys. His swing is amazing. Don't get me wrong. His swing is really, really good. Like, I'm hitting like 500 with this card right now. But like, on Legend, I don't know that he's going to be the guy you want at first. You can make the case to put him in S. I definitely would not be mad at it. But this is my tier list, so I'm putting him in A with Lou Gehrig. I think right now Lou Gehrig is who I would prefer over Mark McGwire right now at first. I have Mark McGwire at third right now. So you can hate it if you want, but that's kind of where I have him right now. Miguel Cabrera, he's in A tier as well. I think all these guys are like right there together. Miggy is like the mixture of, you know, Mark McGwire, only he's a little shorter and he has a little bit better defense at first. I like Miguel Cabrera. He's solid. His swing's good enough. I'm just not using him, and I'm not paying the stubs for him whenever I have Mark McGwire already and Lou Gehrig. So Miguel Cabrera is pretty solid. If you have him, you can use him. He's fine. He's definitely good. He's one of the best first basemen in the game. Mike Trout, S tier. Not a lot to talk about here. Probably my fourth favorite card behind these three. Mike Trout has a really good swing. He does every year. And on top of that, he plays good defense. 97 or 95 speed off rip, I believe, which is unbelievably good for Mike Trout. And he's going to get to 99 speed when you get him to parallel 5. I love Mike Trout. Solid player, great overall, has everything you'd want in a 3-hole hitter or a 4-hole hitter. Get yourself Mike Trout if you can. Mookie Betts, I'm putting him in B tier. His swing keeps him in B tier for me. His stats aren't the greatest. You could play him at second base, which is nice. I'm not a huge fan. If you have the event grinded out and you kept him, you know, toodles to you. He's not a bad option. But at the same time, I'm not a huge fan of Mookie Betts myself. So Mookie Betts is staying in B tier. Murakami. He is an A tier player. He's with these guys. Exactly the same thing as I said. Phenomenal swing. 125 power each. I think he's probably at the top of these guys because of the 125 power. He definitely still has the power to get it out of the yard. He has no quirks. And he has good defense. He has a gold glove at third base. So he has good defense. He just has no quirks. That's his only flaw is his quirks. I think he's better than Eddie Matthews. It's close. I think you can make a case for that. I like him a lot. His swing was really good. And it's fast, so it's good on Legend. So Murakami, I'm putting him at A tier for the time being. I like him a lot. He's good. He's solid. Get yourself Murakami. Nolan Arenado. I'm going to put him at C tier. I just don't think he fits the game much anymore. I loved his swing. When he gets a really good card, he's going to be unbelievably good. He's slow, which kind of stinks, but his defense is immaculate. He has a good swing. I like Nolan Arenado, but C tier, I can't put him any higher. Pablo Lopez, this card has shoved a few times for me, so I'm putting him in B tier. He's not the worst pitcher ever, not the greatest either. He's just kind of an arm to be your 5th starter if you need him to be. That's kind of what Pablo Lopez does. He can locate pitches really well, but his velocity is obviously not the best. So Pablo Lopez, I'm going to put him in B tier for the time being. I don't know that he's going to stay here, but he is solid enough to be in B tier. Paul Goldschmidt, he's going to go in the same tier as Arenado. A lot of the same things I could say about Arenado, say the same about Goldschmidt. He's a lefty killer, same as Hank Aaron. I just think Hank Aaron offers a little bit more of a better swing, and he brings a little bit more to the table than Paul Goldschmidt as far as position versatility. So Paul Goldschmidt, we're going to put him in C tier. Pedro Martinez, this is an A tier card. And I'm being generous with this, I think. His pitch mix kind of stinks. His hits per 9 isn't the highest. And he's short. I don't think he has outlier, and if he does, I don't know about it. Let me check that real fast here. I believe he doesn't, though. So without outlier, this card is really, really, really tough to even say, is he worth it, is he not? I don't think he is. Okay, he does have outlier. So he's okay. He has the 4-seam, circle chain, slider, curveball, cutter. He doesn't have the sinker, which really kills him, in my opinion. He's 5'11". I'm not a huge fan of Pedro Martinez. I never have been. I've never pitched well with him. If you have success with him, go for it. I just think Babe Ruth and Chipper Jones are far and away the best cards in that pack, and it's not remotely close. So I will not be taking Pedro Martinez. I may not even get to Pedro Martinez by the end of the season. I don't know. I'm sure there'll be better pitchers than him by the end of the season. So we'll see how that plays out. But Pedro Martinez right now is an A-tier pitcher. Rafi Devers, he's going to go in the same tier as these guys. DH, lefty swing instead of a righty swing. If the meta changes, these guys could potentially go up like the righty swings. But the lefty swings that are DHs right now, they're going to go here. I don't like his swing as much as Yelich, or Cedric's as far as that goes. But I think he is fine enough to play. I think actually he's going to go over Cedric for stat-wise just because he hits righties so much better. So Rafi Devers, he's going to go there. Arozarena, B tier. I don't think he's anything special. You get him from the World Baseball Classic program at the end. You know, you get him for free. So if you don't have the stubs to pay for anybody else, he's solid enough. Definitely can play. That's basically all I have to say on Randy Arozarena. Rhys Hoskins, I'm going to put him in C tier because his stats versus righties are just not good. Simply put, they're just not good. And I don't like that about him. So in a righty-heavy meta game, he just has to have contact versus righties. So Rhys Hoskins is going to go in C tier. Ricky's going in A tier. I don't care what anyone says. Ricky is unbelievably good. I love his swing. He's fast. He's a great left fielder. The only reason he is maybe not as good as Corbin Carroll is because it is a righty-heavy meta game right now. And I think that we need to get more lefty starters in the game in order to make him relevant, even more so. But Ricky is unbelievably good. I'm putting Ricky in A tier. You can't change my mind on that. I love Ricky. Rob Nen, he's going to go in B tier at the top of it. I think he's a little bit better than Lee Smith, not by much. I think once people see Rob Nen a little bit more, he's going to be kind of like Lee Smith. He's going to get tanked on, and I'm just not a huge fan of Rob Nen every year. His pitch mix is fine. He's solid enough, but I don't know that he's necessarily worth it. I think he's like 40K right now, so it's not that bad if you need a righty in your pen, but I personally think there's better choices. Like Eric Gagne, for example, is the same price or close to it, and I think he's a much better choice. Robinson Cano, he's going in B tier as well. I just don't see him being anything more than that. A lefty swing who can play second base. Slow. I like Robinson Cano's swing though, so plenty of power there. Plenty of DH potential with Robinson Cano. I really like him. Acuna, his swing alone puts him in B tier because his stats stink. His stats are terrible, but his swing alone puts him in B tier for me. I'm not putting him really ahead of hardly any of these guys. I don't really think they did Ronald Acuna correctly. Ronald Acuna has always had a really good swing. He has good quirks, but his stats stink. So Ronald Acuna, B tier. Salvi, I think you can make a case for him in A tier as well. With Napoli and Hendo, I think you can make the case for this as well. I just personally don't know that he's any better than these guys. Like, these three guys are all preference. So whoever you prefer to use, Salvi provides more power from the right side than Napoli does and better contact. I think he provides a little bit better of an arm as well. So if you want to pay that extra price for like 25K or 20K for Salvi, be my guest. I don't think there's much difference between the two. So that's what it is. That is what it is. Sosa. Sosa's going to S tier. Best right fielder in the game. Plays great defense. Has good speed. Has a decent enough swing. His swing I'm still getting used to. It's really hard to turn on pitches with it on the higher difficulties. So keep that in mind when you do get Sosa. It is a little bit tough to turn on inside pitches with him on the higher difficulties. But overall, he's probably the best outfielder in the game right now as an overall outfielder. I don't think he's better than Trout hitting, and I think Trout's a much better hitter. So the Trout hitting puts him over Sosa for me. Tucker, same thing. I think he's a much better hitter than Sosa, so that puts him over there for me. I just think Sosa's defense alone gets him in S tier, and his stats are really good. Statistically speaking, 125 pop from both sides. I really like Sosa. Sosa's solid. Put him in S tier, no doubt about it. Shohei Ohtani, the closer, I'm putting him in B tier, and Shohei Ohtani, the starter, he's going in S. DH-wise, you could put Shohei Ohtani in a DH. Like I said, righty-heavy meta. Shohei Ohtani fits this bill perfectly. 160K for this card right now. 150K, something like that. Pitch mix-wise, it's not the greatest. We know what Shohei has. He has the splitter, he has the slider, he has the cutter, he has the four-seam, and he has that big looping curveball that everybody rocks. But this card has outlier, I want to say, as well. So he does pump 103, which is super nice. He could get up to 104. I have seen it, and it's nasty. So, and he's got the hitting quirks. So, what more do you want out of a pitcher from Shohei Ohtani? Like, what more do you want out of him? He's literally the glitchiest card in the game, overall-wise speaking, and he's like that in real life, too. So, Shohei Ohtani, he belongs at S tier. I don't think he belongs anywhere else. Stan Musial. This might surprise some of you. I'm put him in A tier for the time being. I think Stan is one of my favorite swings in the game, if not my favorite right now from the left side, other than Juan and Jock and those kinds of guys. Stan's swing is a very contact-based swing. He hits a lot of doubles, and he, like I said, he doesn't have a lot of power versus righties, but he has the max contact. He has clutch. I love Stan Musial. He's amazing, and I really had no problems with him. He's solid all the way around. I put him at first, so solid all the way around. Taylor Rogers. This card is going to be an A tier. I think he's ahead of Billy Wagner for me, just because he has a sinker, and I think he's a little bit more nasty than Billy is. And I really like this card. He's only like 20k on the market right now, so if you don't have him, go pick him up. I think he's really solid. One of those guys that you definitely need in your pen as a lefty, as there's not very many of those right now. So Taylor Rogers, go get him if you don't have him. Teoscar, B tier, DH, good swing. I'll have said quite a bit about a lot of people. I'm going to put Tim Salmon in that category as well. Those guys are all equal to me. It just is preference on what you think on the swings. So we're going to go with that. Tom Seaver. I think he's on the tier with Madison Bumgarner. I think he's a good spot filler in your rotation. I've had good success with him so far. I don't know that he's going to be there very long, but he is definitely the first righty I have to go on my rotation right now. So that's kind of my thing with him. Trace Thompson, I don't think he's very good. I'm just going to put him in D tier. Trey Turner, he's going in S tier. No doubt about it in my mind. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we got 11 cards in S. Oh, I thought I had to sneeze. Trey Turner, unbelievable swing, unbelievable quirks, unbelievable speed, good defensive versatility. Gotta love Trey. I think he's ahead of Shohei. I think he's ahead of Sammy. I think he's ahead of Kyle. I think he's ahead of Lindor. This is where we start drawing the line, I think. I think he's right there in terms of where he's at. An unbelievable player, unbelievable card. I think you have to get Trey Turner. Casas, I'm going to put him in D tier. I just don't think he's really anything great. Wander, I'm going to put him in C tier. Once again, I just don't think he's anything special. He's just kind of there. He exists. Moncada, B tier. I think he's better than a lot of these guys because he's a switch hitter. And he's got good stats from both sides. Plays third, plays second. I like Moncada quite a bit. If you don't have Moncada, he's pretty cheap. If you need a budget second baseman, go get Moncada. Yamamoto, I'm going to put him in B tier as well. Just objectively speaking, I don't think you can put him anywhere else. He's okay at best. I don't think he's anything special. He's definitely a fifth starter on your team. I think Cueto's better than him. I think Cueto's better than this. I think Cueto's better than all those guys. So, Yamamoto, in my opinion, is probably one of the worst you can get, but he's free. So if you don't have any other choices, Yamamoto is your guy. Yu Chang, I think you can put him in B tier as well. Towards the top of it. I like Yu Chang a lot. I like him. His versatility overall speaking is pretty solid. His hitting ability is really good, but he's a righty at the end of the day, and there's a lot of good first base options as it is. So Yu Chang for me is a B tier player. Last but not least, Yu Darvish, we're putting him in A tier. I think he's up there with Dustin May, Bob Gibson. I think he's up there with these guys. He is the fourth best pitcher in the game, in my opinion, behind Sasaki, Dustin May, and Bob Gibson. Yu Darvish is one of those guys. He kind of has a funky leg kick. He kind of takes his time. He has a good pitch mix. He very speeds well. So Yu Darvish is one of those guys that if you don't have, you need to go pick up for your starting rotation. This is my tier list, guys. We're going to kind of go back over it one more time here, slowly but surely. This is the tier list. You guys are new to the channel, please make sure you guys like and subscribe. If you enjoyed the video, leave it a thumbs up. Leave some recommendations down in the comments for what you guys want to see next. And I'm out. Till next time. Peace.